Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and as Captain America Brave New World arrives to viewers after several delays and several reshoots, as a story on the surface about President Ross, Red Hulk, and a global war over adamantium taken from a weird Eternals loose thread, Marvel fans who have been following this film's complicated production process have been wondering for years now, what really happened with this movie? With a final runtime of just 1 hour and 58 minutes, the shortest Captain America movie yet, and the final screenplay credits going to 5 writers for screenplay by, 3 of them for story by, and then 4 other names for additional writing credit, and then opening weekend box office estimates setting modest domestic projections of under 100 million, various rumors over the months of troublesome test audience screenings, and WWE star Seth Rollins confirming that he had a role in this movie that was definitely cut in a significant reshoot, and the longtime Marvel executive behind this movie leaving the studio. I think we finally have all the pieces over what exactly happened with this film. And the crazy thing is, that process may still have resulted in a movie that most Marvel fans still enjoy, and could still net a profit for the studio in ways that often go underreported. So in another episode of a recurring series we've been doing here at New Rockstars to answer the questions you really have about these titles you love, what the fuck is happening with Captain America Brave New World? And let's start with that title, because of course this movie was originally titled Captain America New World Order. So what happened there? Well, a 4th Captain America film about Anthony Mackie's run as a character was announced as Sam Wilson transitioned from Falcon to Captain America in the events of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which streamed on Disney Plus from March through April 2021. After the finale episode, it was reported that the head writer of that series, Malcolm Spellman, with fellow series writer Dalen Musson, were working on a Sam Wilson Captain America 4 movie script. It seemed at the time like an obvious move. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was reportedly, at the time, the highest viewed Marvel Disney Plus series, but looking back, we must note that earlier Disney Plus titles like The Mandalorian Season 2 and WandaVision grew subscribers on that new streaming platform by the point of March 2021 that allowed The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the Marvel series after that, Loki, to really ride a wave that had been created by The Mandalorian and WandaVision. In July 2022 at San Diego Comic-Con, the film was announced as Captain America New World Order, with an initial release date of May 3rd, 2024, directed by Julius Ona, who, to this film's credit, has stayed the director for all the phases of the film's production, which is more than can be said for Marvel Studios' Blade.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
Ona initially described this early version of the film as a paranoid thriller and said that production would begin in early 2023. Marvel Studios exec Nate Moore, who had shepherded the Black Panther films, Eternals, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, would oversee this project. A month after this, in August 2022, I attended Disney's D23 Expo in Anaheim, where they announced the cast for this film, which included, beyond Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson and Danny Ramirez returning as Joaquin Torres, Tim Blake Nelson returning as the leader from the 2008 Incredible Hulk film, and newcomer Shira Haas as Root bat-seraph, known in the comics as Sabra, an Israeli superhero. Now, at this time, the title New World Order was given something of a pass by observers as a reference to the first episode title of the Disney Plus series. But later on, some reporters did point out that the phrase had connections to anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. When the studio later decided to change the title, Nate Moore acknowledged to Empire magazine that they received feedback that the phrase had been, quote, co-opted in the real world in a way that made people uncomfortable. But in summer 2022, the Marvel focus at the time was going to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, She-Hulk, the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and the then plans for Kang thereafter, as well as the bright spot of Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel Kamala Khan and her mutant status, all of which really allowed the casting of Shira Haas in a supporting role as Sabra to get little attention. A lot of observers didn't even know who Sabra was. Then in October, it was announced that Harrison Ford would be playing US President Thaddeus Ross in the film, replacing William Hurt, who had died in March 2022. We finally learned only weeks ago that Nate Moore, after Hurt's death, was going to try a different version of this movie without the president as a character, but then it was Harrison Ford who approached Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige about playing some Marvel character, and Feige pitched him on President Ross as a Red Hulk, and Ford was in. Next, in January 2023, Zosha Roquemore joined the cast, and then production began in March 2023, and set photos from the Atlanta area revealed that Liv Tyler would be returning as Betty Ross at a funeral scene. Another set photos showed Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie together, with Ford in tattered pants, fueling long-held fan theories that we might be seeing a Red Hulk version of the Thaddeus Ross character. But at this time, production for this film was handled carefully because following the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania to less than stellar reviews and box office performance, as well as drama with Marvel's relationship with VFX artists and the firing of longtime executive Victoria Alonso, Disney's returning CEO Bob Iger declared that Marvel would be making fewer projects per year, which later in the year he straight up blamed on there just being too many Marvel sequels in his opinion. Also, in May 2023, the Writers Guild of America went on strike. Now at this point, the script already had a draft from Spellman and Musson, with additional writing from the director Julius Ona that they were shooting from. And while Marvel Studios at the time claimed the writer's strike wouldn't impact the film's production, the reality is Spellman and Musson could no longer show up to set during shoots because they are members of the WGA, and that meant that no one could be doing any day of punch-ups or rewrites. And with many Hollywood film productions, the day before is often where a lot of actual dialogue is locked in. Without those day before adjustments, a lot of actors sometimes come to set wondering, well, is this what the scene is actually going to be, or are we gonna change it later? With New World Order, one source told The Hollywood Reporter that Marvel will shoot what they can, then wait for the reshoots, which The Hollywood Reporter wrote are, in the Marvel manner, already baked into the production process. But in the case of lesser experienced actors on those sets, you can't always rely on them ad-libbing a better version of a line, which might have been the case with WWE star Seth Rollins, who in late May, a few weeks into the writer's strike, was spotted in set photos, leading to speculation that he would be a member of the Serpent Society. In June, Marvel announced that they were retitling the film from New World Order to Brave New World, a veiled reference to the Aldous Huxley book, and this move was praised by the press. Marvel rushed to wrap shooting by June 30th, ahead of the expected larger strike from the SAG-AFTRA Actors Union, which began in July 2023 and truly did shut down nearly all of production in Hollywood. At this point, Captain America 4 was delayed to now release on July 26, 2024. Marvel at this point was having a tough summer. Secret Invasion was streaming on Disney Plus, and it was being met with poor responses by viewers. There were internal concerns at the studio about the performance of the upcoming film The Marvels, and everyone was really just waiting to see what would happen with the studio's new star, Jonathan Majors, following his arrest in March 2023. Days after Secret Invasion's finale aired, Marvel surprise dropped a trailer for the highly anticipated Loki Season 2 with a plan to release the season, which would focus heavily on Jonathan Majors as to the Kang variant Victor Timely from October through November, in the narrow window before Majors' trial date was set in December 2023. They even gave members of the press 4 out of 6 episodes in advance, something Disney almost never does, perhaps hoping to lock in some positive reviews for Majors and the storyline before news about the actor's upcoming trial might dampen the narrative. We also know that during these late summer months, Marvel execs were scrambling in what is now being seen as an infamous Palm Springs company retreat in September 2023 that was first reported by Variety in November 2023 as Loki Season 2 came to an end and The Marvels released in theaters in that second week of November. Variety reported that Marvel, at that September 2023 Palm Springs meeting, considered replacing Kang with Doctor Doom as the big bad of the multiverse saga, a report confirmed by the announcement of Robert Downey Jr. at San Diego Comic-Con 2024 the following summer, and The Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast in August 2024 that featured Robert Downey Jr. confirming that his big meeting with Kevin Feige on the Doom casting occurred a year before that, meaning around August to September 2023. I'm bringing up this late 2023 history because it's also when Marvel Studios got a long, hard look at Captain America: Brave New World. I'm painting a picture of the culture at Marvel Studios that led to them making these decisions for the 4th Captain America movie. As soon as the strikes ended in November 2023, Marvel announced that they were delaying Brave New World again to February 14th, 2025, which remains its release date now. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Whenever the calendar ticks over to a new year, it's hard not to reflect on where you are now versus where you were a year ago. Is your situation better? Is it worse? Is it the same? And more importantly, how do you feel about that? But expectations to make immediate dramatic life changes in 2025 can be overwhelming. Talking to a therapist on BetterHelp can help you break down vague feelings of being behind into specific addressable concerns and develop tools to measure progress on your own terms. Starting with BetterHelp is as easy as ordering gifts on Amazon. Just fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. If the first therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to another one until you find someone you resonate with. BetterHelp also provides a journal for personal reflection, plus group sessions on a variety of topics that are available every day. Users love BetterHelp. They have over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, and it's obvious why. BetterHelp makes sure therapists on their platform are well qualified. If you have any questions, their customer support team is there to help as well. Start fresh any day of the year with BetterHelp. Click Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/newrockstars and get 10% off your first month of therapy. According to Scooper Jeff Snyder, a test screening for the film did not do great, and 3 sequences were being cut, with further reshoots planned throughout the months of 2024. In December 2023, the studio confirmed these reshoots following a script revision by Moon Knight writer Matthew Orton and the casting of Rosa Salazar in a role we now know will be the Serpent Society member Diamondback. In February 2024, Mark Ruffalo hinted that Bruce Banner Hulk might show up in the movie, but Variety reported shortly after that Ruffalo had misspoken. In April 2024, Kevin Feige showed footage of the 4th Captain America movie to attendees at CinemaCon in Las Vegas, promising a movie closer in tone to Captain America Winter Soldier and teasing that President Ross would have a new form in the movie. This is also where we got our first official still of the movie that focused on Harrison Ford as much as Anthony Mackie. In May 2024, 22 days of reshoots began, with Giancarlo Esposito joining the cast. While these reshoots were reported to be less extensive than the reshoots for Marvel films like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness for the Marvels, that they were really just to involve Esposito's character and reshoot certain scenes that they had shot for Seth Rollins, they did balloon this movie's budget. And then when the first trailer dropped in early July 2024, a few things were confirmed to the public. Harrison Ford's Thaddeus Ross, in addition to being the US president, would turn into the Red Hulk in this movie. 2, a major set piece would take place on Celestial Island, the giant corpse of the Celestial Tiamat in the Indian Ocean from the Eternals film. 3, Shira Haas was playing Ruth bat-seraph as an Israeli character. And 4, Giancarlo Esposito would be playing Seth Volker, aka Sidewinder, leader of the Serpent Society. Actually, just recently in this month, Seth Rollins finally broke his silence on what went down with his involvement in this film in an interview with Chris Van Vliet.
What's going on with Captain America Brave World? Are you still in it?
Releases in February. I wish it the best, but I am not a part of that film. So maybe they'll be like,
what happened?
Well, does my NDA still apply if I'm not on the?
Oh, that's a good question.
On the film anymore?
It's just the two of us.
You know what? Truth be told, any answer I gave would give you would not be. It would only be my opinion on it. The script went through a lot of rewrites and reshoots, and so what I was there to do, essentially my role got either repurposed or completely erased. And so I did do a bit of an audition to possibly pop into another role, I believe, or the repurposing of my role. I'm not exactly sure on what it was, but they ended up going in a different direction with it. And yeah, from my understanding, there were just a lot of rewrites and a lot of reshoots, and they've got a finished product that hopefully they're happy with, and hopefully it's successful. But it will be sans Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins went on in this interview to say that he's not as interested in acting in Hollywood movies, and he has a bunch of other projects he's working on. But in July 2024, the Ruth bat-seraph of it all created quite a stir, especially given the Israeli-Hamas conflict that erupted during this film's production. After Shira Haas appeared in the trailer and word spread about the character's comic history as Sabra, a former Israeli Mossad agent, the Palestinian campaign for the academic and cultural boycott of Israel criticized the use of the character, what they called the valorization of Mossad, and perceived racism against Palestinians. Marvel responded that they were taking a new approach to the character, which led from groups like the American Jewish Committee that Marvel might erase the character's Israeli background. But Marvel confirmed upon the trailer release that the moniker of Sabra would not be used in the film, and that Ruth bat-seraph in this movie is an Israeli former Black Widow assassin who is now a high-ranking US government official. Now, obviously that didn't satisfy everyone online and then created an additional feedback loop, but groups like the AJC and the Anti-Defamation League supported keeping the character Israeli. 2 weeks after the trailer release at the Marvel Studios panel at San Diego Comic-Con, Kevin Feige showed a new cut of the trailer that confirmed this movie would be a war over adamantium and showed attendees our first look at Harrison Ford as Red Hulk, like his face. We were surprised that Marvel would reveal this big visual in the marketing several months before the movie, but now it's kind of hard not to see that as the studio perhaps trying to dominate the discussion for this movie around Harrison Ford as Red Hulk and not anything else. In December, Marvel announced that Nate Moore was leaving the studio after 14 years, but was doing so on good terms, and that Nate Moore would be coming back to produce the third Black Panther film. That led to one of the last press outreaches that the studio did for this film in December that had Nate Moore, as well as Marvel's head of character design, Ryan minor ding, and Weta VFX supervisor Dan Cox really just talking about the design of Red Hulk and the blocking of that final battle. What we haven't seen in the press tour for this movie is the director of this movie, Julius Ona, or any of the many screenwriters talking about the narrative themes or why this is really a good Sam Wilson story. And that brings us to now, with reports of a cut down runtime of under 2 hours, a full gaggle of credited screenwriters, box office reports of a sub $100 million opening. Here's the kicker, folks. That might still be enough for Marvel Studios to consider this movie a hit. Fans are still pumped to see Red Hulk tear apart Washington, D.C. in a major aerial battle over the corpse of Tiamat. A shorter runtime might actually help the movie because it means that cinemas can pack in more screenings during regular business hours, a strategy that Sony used to great success with their Venom films. Also, Marvel seems to be either recouping costs or squeezing as much profit from this film as possible with at least 4 branded product integrations that use footage from this film: Tide detergent, Microsoft's new Copilot Plus PC with 80 software, American Family Insurance, and Barbasol shaving cream. While major films often have product integrations, I have never, in 10 years of doing this kind of work, seen this many produced promo shots for 4 different products on a single film that all incorporate footage from the film to make it look like they're scenes from the film. We usually see something like one big car brand and then like a McDonald's Happy Meal tie-in. Sure, very common. But one of these Tide ads alone also cast Greg Turkington from the Ant-Man films and also coordinated with Baskin-Robbins to be able to feature their product and logo within that Tide ad spot. These types of brand integrations are extremely lucrative, especially if any of these products appear in the movie. And that means that whatever Brave New World makes at the box office, there are potentially tens of millions of dollars in extra billings that Disney banks on top of it. All of that, plus this film will release in mainland China, which is a big deal because not all Disney and Marvel films have been able to do that since Avengers Endgame. Captain America Civil War made $181 million more from China alone. And while Brave New World probably won't make those numbers, there's a chance for like half of that amount, which would mean an extra 90 to 100 million more that the film otherwise might not have gotten. So what the happened with Captain America Brave New World? One, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's streaming success might have been a bit inflated, and that might have misguided Marvel Studios into thinking a continuation of this Sam Wilson story would be as successful as the previous Captain America movies. Two, that confidence might have led them to pick a title like New World Order after the title of the Falcon series pilot episode, not thinking about how that term was seen in some corners as a term related to conspiracy theories. Next, Spellman and Musson's draft included Ruth Bat-Seraph, an Israeli superhero, and they didn't account for how divided America was, and especially how divided America would increasingly become over Hollywood depictions of things like Mossad, and then on the flip side, any perceptions of running away from supporting Israel. It's clear that Nate Moore and the creatives on this movie picked Sabra without thinking about how that would be received, and then they were just stuck with the character. Also, we have to acknowledge William Hurt died early on in production, and they intended on his version of Thaddeus Ross to be in this movie, and it still forced producers to scramble and re-strategize and then just commit hard when Harrison Ford came knocking and to make Red Hulk the star of this movie, even if that meant that Sam Wilson would fade into the background. Also, the 2023 Hollywood union strikes forced this movie's early production to move at a pace and under circumstances that they likely would not have preferred, leading to things like reshoots to replace Seth Rollins, a beloved icon of the WWE, with Giancarlo Esposito. And that, with all the reshoots and test screenings, became a bigger than expected story that fans were following. And yet, again, none of it may matter. So long as this film delivers on the goods promised in the marketing, it could still check enough boxes for fans and profit enough for the studio to consider it a win. So that is what the is happening. Comment down below with your thoughts on all this, and please subscribe to New Rockstars and consider joining this channel as a member to get access to some select videos early and ad-free. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.